Action.
Hey everybody, Jeff here, and welcome back again to another video this week. And we got a great topic for you this week. This is a great engineering disaster here. That it's a dilemma that you got to figure out what is going on here. How do you patch the drywall on a stub wall like this that has all of this piping and everything in there? And it's a very small stub wall, and you can see the drywall was cut close to the ceiling here as well. So how do you fix this? Well, today we're going to show you everything about that. Alright, so if we look up here, you can see, let's say you got this piece of drywall and maybe this is one piece we want to get in here kind of like that. Okay, well what's hindering us? What's keeping us from securing it? Well, right now the only thing we can secure it to here is the stud on the end of the wall. You can see this metal stud here on the right is one surface that we can run screws through, but there really isn't. We have this one over here too, and well, is that enough? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So we could put our piece of drywall in here maybe and run the screws up there and then one there, and maybe that's enough. It is a small piece. There's nowhere else to really put any wood, but what you could do is you could take a piece of 1-ply like this and slide it down the wall, and you'd run some screws right here to secure it into place. Then you could have another little surface here to attach your drywall to. So I think we should be able to be fine without it. I don't want to run the risk of damaging those pipes in there. So what you can do is put your first piece in like this, but then I want to show you what the builder did. Okay, so if you look up sort of from above, what the builder did here, this right here is a stainless steel stud here, or maybe aluminum, but anyway, it's a metal stud. So they didn't use drywall on this part here because they knew the drywall will hit up against this. It'll never make it. So to show you what I'm talking about here, if I was to try to put a piece of drywall up in here, it's not going to be straight. See how it leans to the left? And you won't have a perfect corner. And it's leaning to the left because it's bumping up against that pipe. So we can't use drywall there. And the builder knew that too. That's why the builder had this metal stud that wrapped around it. But are you really going to run out to Home Depot and buy a 10-foot long metal stud, and then you got to go buy metal shears to cut it with, sheet metal shears, when maybe you could use something better, just as easy like this little piece of panel wood here, 3/16 inch thick. And once you get this into place here and get it maybe glued in, you can put a corner bead right here that'll go right up along this way here, and then you just start securing this piece down, and you can start taping and mudding. And once you get all of that done, hopefully you'll have a nice straight wall here and that nobody will ever know what you did. Alright, so we're just going to take this little thin piece of wood and put it right behind it there to give a little support for the drywall. So I typically like to do this whenever I'm patching drywall. I'll run a piece of wood behind it, and then we'll screw it from behind on the front of it here. So we'll put a Phillips head on here, our drywall screw, and we'll go right down in there. These on there, and we'll put a couple of them in there. And we just need to make sure they're embedded in bit. Try this right. Okay. Did this one a little more. Okay, so I've cut this piece of drywall here, and you can see our contact points can be anywhere along this metal stud, and then there, and our piece of wood here. So I'm just going to fit it in here, and you can see it fits in nicely there. So that'll be our first piece that gets put in. Okay, so now you can see we got a few screws in on this piece here, And now, what if you look over here, what the builder did originally, they just have a metal stud right here on the other side of this. And all they did was they mudded right over the stud. So since we had to cut that away, what we're going to do is we're going to glue this little piece of thin piece of plywood. This is actually a kick panel from the front of a cabinet that we would normally use in the kitchen, right near the kitchen floor. So this is actually just the perfect thickness to use here, and we'll put another piece of drywall on the back side of this wall to form the other side of the wall, and then this will glue onto both of those. Is that perfect? No, sure isn't, but it's going to work in our case. We can put another piece of wood here too, but I don't think it would be a wise idea to try to run a screw through this. You're likely going to crack it. So I think gluing it will be sufficient. Remember, this whole wall is just a facade. This wall is not any kind of structure or anything. This whole wall was just built to wrap around this pipe that the builder had built going through here. So that's all we're going to have to do is just we'll glue this on here. This is a great time for you to take a look at the subscription button down below, and you might want to click on that so you can be aware of all of the other videos that we put out to help you. So this is all for you, my friends. And at the same time, when you subscribe, make sure you click on that bell icon right next to it that'll appear when you subscribe, because it doesn't make any sense if you subscribe without being alerted to every time we put up a new video, okay? And then if you have any questions at all, leave them down in the comments and we'll answer them for you. Our beads on here. Once the quarter beads are on here and everything's all cemented on, we'll go ahead and coat everything here start coating with our mud, okay? Okay, so now I'm just putting some construction adhesive on either side of this little piece of kick panel here. And I'm going to mount it right up here. Smooth it out. Both sides. That's all we're going to do there. Okay, so now we're working on the corner beads. So I've taken my corner bead adhesive spray here, see, and I've sprayed both the corner beads here, and you let them set up for about a minute, and I've also sprayed the corners where they're going to attach. And so once those set up for a minute, we'll then put these on there, and they'll be pretty much unmovable after about 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to put the corner bead on here, on this first one here, and make sure it goes in nice and good. Make sure there's no glue poking through anywhere. Now I'll put the other corner bead on. And he's going to go over here. So what will happen is once these are all dried and everything, and cured and not moving, we'll add, we're going to take this track off of here anyway. But we'll take our trowel and our taping knife and we'll mud. Just run that right down here. And we'll get all of these to meet up. We'll get some green tape going on here and on there. Okay, so for up here in the corner now, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to use my regular tape. I'm using my straight flex. This is what we call the Perfect 90. So this is kind of cool. It's very similar to your regular tape, except it just makes perfect folds right in the middle. See that? You get a nice perfect crease every time. And so the way it works is you apply mud out on the wall on the corner just like you would with regular tape, and then you'll push this into the mud and then just scrape it off. But the idea here is with this stuff here, you don't have to do all the layers on top of it like you do with the other tape. Okay, so here's what I do first, is I usually start in the corners there, and I'll put a 1/8 of an inch thick layer of mud there. Okay. And now we'll go ahead and add the tape. Alright, so I usually put the tape in with the print side out. Like that. See? And we'll just push it in. You can already see how it's looking like a nice perfect corner in there. Okay, so now that it's in place, I just take my taping knife. It's pretty much as simple as that. I'm going to scrape off the other side here too. And there you go. You're in there with a nice corner. Just have to get this more. Alright, so I've started some mud across here, and I'm just going to use my large knife here, 9-inch. Try to go down. I'll have to add some more mud on there, as you can see. But you can see what they want you to stay away from the corner with this, because once you've gotten that initial spread on there, they tell you if you even need to come back, you only come back and hit just the perforated part right there, right to the edge of where my blade is. And they tell you not to go beyond that point right there because you don't need to. And so we'll put a little bit more on there and trowel it down flat. And so it's coming along pretty good there. We have the first coating on. Of course, it's pretty rough around the edges and all. But, you know, this wasn't your standard, you know, taping between two perfect pieces of drywall with a valley in between them. This was as rough as it gets, folks. I mean, you saw all the patchwork we had and trying to line up, you know, the corner bead here to the old wall here. So what we're going to do is we're going to sand all of this down once it dries. We'll let it dry thoroughly and I'll sand it down nice and smooth. So that's nice and feathered here. I want to have the smoothest, straightest level of surface before we put on the second layer on here. Okay, and by the time we're done, we'll never even know that this was here. This is coming along pretty good. It already looks way better than it looked a half hour ago. And this corner tape, what we call this Perfect 90 straight flex here, worked out pretty good so far. This is just with one coat on there. We haven't even come along to put the second coat on right here, but you can see how it's already looking like a nice straight corner and everything too. So I'll put a link to this down in the description below. Okay, so I just completed sanding and vacuuming here on the first layer, and we're going to do the second layer now. Alright, and a few minutes later we've added the second layer, and you can see things are really starting to come together now, looking nice and straight, flat, feathering out nice. Okay, so here it is with the second layer dried. I'm just going to give it a light sanding, this time with a finer grit. I'm going to use the 220 grit sandpaper with my electric palm sander. So I always like to vacuum off the area after I sanded it to make sure that there's no dust or anything for when I do any further layers or when I paint. Yeah, so upon closer look here, we're taking a closer look at the corner. Yeah, that Perfect 90 tape did a great job. Here. And then also too, if you remember up here in this corner, remember how a few days ago this was all open, there was pipes showing and everything? So we really made this look nice here with this wall, filled it in nicely with the drywall, and you would never know that there was ever any work done up there. And we made that nice corner bead. In case you ever have to find yourself in a position where you need to patch up huge holes in a drywall, especially in a difficult spot, this had to go all the way around the corner. It was completely open all the way around there because we had to do some major surgery to a pipe in there, a drain pipe for the air conditioner to go downstairs. Okay, so we are opting not to place these door handles. These are really bad. These are just thin, cheap looking plastic nothings. So I would want something more like a square knob or something fancy. So I think in this case we'll either do without or see if they have anything in the stores along with the cabinet pulls. You know, we'll look over there and see if they've got anything or anything for mirror doors. But these are too cheap to ruin the look of your door when it's not too much effort for anybody to open the slider like that. Look, you can see here we have a really good, nice looking job here. Let me close this side here. And you can see they just look pretty nice to the eye when you walk in. And these are reasonably popular because when you walk in the door and you see the reflection off this mirror, it goes straight to the back of the house. So it makes it look like it's bigger here. And also people like to check their reflection as they go out. Well, there's our closet doors there. And I hope you found this video useful. And if you did, please give us a thumbs up down below. It lets us know that you like us. And don't forget while you're here to hit that subscribe button down below. It doesn't cost you anything. And you'll have access to all 250 of our videos that we've uploaded that cover all sorts of projects around your house. And if you want to subscribe, you hit that gray button right next to it, and that will alert you every time we upload a new video so that you never miss a single video. Well, that's it for this week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.